Bella Vista Community Television presents Bella Vista and Beyond. Today our host is Tricia Ayers, and we will be talking about in-home senior care and senior resources. Now to the studio for our program.
Well, hello everybody and welcome to the show, Bella Vista and Beyond. I am so excited to have, hopefully my friend, we'll see it by the end of the show, and comrade in arms in the senior healthcare field, Cherie Spitzer. So please welcome Cherie. She is with Pinnacle InHome Care.
Thank you for having me.
I just always want to make sure I get that correct.
Yes.
Now, Cherie, we were talking the other day at a lunch. You have been in the senior healthcare world for about 10 years?
Almost about 9 years now.
That's a long time.
Yeah, I've learned a lot, and but I've really enjoyed being able to serve my community in that capacity.
So tell me about Pinnacle InHome Care.
Yeah, Pinnacle InHome Care provides day-to-day assistance to individuals, whether they're still living independently in their homes, maybe they've downsized to a community, a retirement community, or an assisted living facility, but we still can come in and be one-on-one with that individual, helping with any day-to-day needs that they may need. The care is really kind of up to, you know, how they want it to be or what they may need assistance with. We can provide resources for any medical needs as well and work alongside with those resources, but a lot of it is just companionship, transportation, light housekeeping, meal preparation, but we're also licensed with the state of Arkansas to provide personal care, so we can get hands-on with folks, whether they need assistance with bathing, toileting, dressing, ambulation, where all of our caregivers are trained in that capacity as well. So,
but not on the healthcare side for administering shots or anything like that.
Right, yeah. A lot of those services are covered by like home health entities. So home care and home health sound so very similar, but they are completely different worlds. The only area where there's an overlap is that personal care. So we can both kind of help bathe and dress a client. But where we're day-to-day assistance with some of those like light housekeeping and things that I mentioned, home health would be more like medication administering, physical therapy, occupational therapy, and things like that.
So your title is, because I was texting you this morning at some very early hour,
I was up.
Community Liaison. What does that mean?
Yeah. I wear a lot of different hats, and I like that. That kind of fits my personality. I like that my day looks different every day. But whether it's, you know, kind of doing events like this to let the community know what we do and what resources are out there. I also kind of serve our potential clients or family members with education and consultations on what these services would look like, but maybe what other things they need or where they're at in their healthcare journey right now. And then we do a lot of community events as well, whether we're sponsoring an event with another community partner or we're involved in senior health fairs or Walk for Alzheimer's, whatever it may be. And then I do some volunteering as well, just in representation of Pinnacle, walk photographer for the Alzheimer's Association for a long time now. And I had something else on my mind, but I forgot. We serve on different community boards,
right,
and, you know, just wherever we can kind of add some education and benefit to the resources we have already.
So take, somebody calls in to your company and you are sent out to do a consult. You're doing that in their home, yes?
Yeah, and especially now, you know, with what our world looks like today,
right,
it's really up to that individual what they're comfortable with. I've had hour-long phone calls with folks where we talk about everything and anything, or I'm happy to come to the home. So, and at some point before we work with a client, we will meet them in person. Of course, we will see the home because that's such an important aspect to kind of figure out what environment they're in, where maybe medical equipment can be added to ease some challenges, or maybe some things taken out as well so that the care can be given a little bit better. So in person, by phone, I've met at coffee shops, I've sat down and had lunch, whatever, because sometimes the family members might want to talk and just kind of get the information, so whatever they're comfortable with.
So you've been doing this a while. I'm interested in the challenges of when you do go into a senior's home who is maybe reluctant to accept care.
Oh, sure.
Because we see that on the elder law side, that people are reluctant to take the steps that they probably need to. And sometimes it's a family member that stepped in and gone, Mom or Dad, you need to have some extra care.
Yeah.
How do you navigate that when you go into the home?
It's funny because we see equally both of those scenarios. One, it's really hard to ask for help. We all know that. Second, it seems like folks, when they start their senior care journey or the season of where maybe they're taking care of a family member, you have little to no information, and as soon as you start to dive into it, it's like a waterfall. It's an overload of information. So I've had conversation with folks where we've had to start from the very beginning, or we've had to sort out everything that they've gone and researched and learned, and I'm like, okay, this applies, this doesn't apply. So I really admire the Broyles Foundation, which is a great community resource we have, started by Coach Broyles, all kind of geared around family caregivers, caring for those with Alzheimer's or dementia, but he had a real concept of a game plan for senior health. I latched right on to that. I am naturally an organized person, so I like that. I like to know big picture what I'm dealing with and what the game plan or the steps are. So that's really how I try to proceed, and how our entire team, with our multiple locations with Pinnacle InHome Care, whether they're meeting with one of our registered nurses, whether they're meeting with a community liaison representative like myself, I think we've tried to adapt that concept of help an individual understand where they are, what they may end up dealing with on this journey, and what the best game plan for that is.
And okay, I'm going to ask you a question now. If you were picking a caregiving company to come to take care of one of your loved ones, what are some of the questions that they should ask about a company?
That's a great question. Yeah, I definitely think that consultation part is important, because sometimes it can kind of be an interview, have an interview feel with it as well, because you do really kind of want to get to know the company that you'll be working with, because it's not only that day-to-day one-on-one with the caregiver, but it's going to be everything outside of that with that administrative team as well, whether it's additional resources, changes within care as we have care over the years, increasing or decreasing, scheduling differences and things like that. So really get a feel for the company is kind of your first and foremost, and do your research as well. You know, we've got so much information at our fingertips now, so Google reviews and what kind of presence that company has on social media, how they present themselves online with their website, that's always good as well. And
do all companies have to do background checks on their employees?
I don't know if they have to, because I think each company can be structured differently.
Right.
It really depends on what state license you hold as well, and the rules and regulations that come with that. But I think that would be a very crucial part, and something that I get from families a lot. You're having an individual come into your home, your most kind of intimate space. So we, for sure, at Pinnacle InHome Care would never bypass that process, that background check, drug screen, even checking, you know, a person's driving record, since transportation is a service we provide.
Right.
Probably not a good fit for the caregiver if we have multiple speeding tickets on our record, if we have accidents, like, you know, so doing that extensive, you know, kind of background on an individual, on who you're going to be working with, is super important.
But families shouldn't be afraid to ask. all these questions.
No,
I mean,
no, not at all. No, and you're welcome, like I said, to kind of interview and question that company on what do they have in place for their screening process. What's their interview process look like? Is it all online and by the phone, or is the caregiver coming in to complete that process? So the admin team is kind of getting to know them already as well, because we want to make sure personalities match up as well when we pair a client and a caregiver together. A lot of common questions too that family get about these services is price, what payer sources provide these services, what does it look like self-pay, and are there any minimums in place? Are we going to be tied to having to have someone for 4 hours at a time or 3 or 4 days a week? So for us, we kind of let the client set their schedule. We're independently owned and operated. We're not a franchise structure. So we get to kind of operate like a small business, which gives us some flexibility. We get to pass on to the client on, if we need to start little, as we get started, that's okay, because as your care increases, then let's increase the schedule. Let's not tie you to too much right now, where you're kind of overwhelmed. It can be really overwhelming.
right.
So,
And do you have a minimum amount of hours?
we don't have any minimums in place.
Wow.
So we will work with a family, of course, to bring someone out for 1 hour at a time may be difficult,
Right.
especially with travel and maybe the needs that need to get done in the home. So we'll sit there and work with families on, okay, this may be how much time we may need to work with, but it's such an educational process at the same time. So it's just, not tying anybody to too rigid of a structure so that they have the flexibility to start slow and increase. Sometimes we'll get someone right out of the hospital or a rehab facility, and we do need 5 days a week. But as we get better, let's scale that down. So increase or decrease whatever's appropriate for the client, and we love that.
Well, Cherie, I have many more questions, but we need to take a short pause and we will be back.
Great.
We will be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Here is our host, Tricia.
And we are back, continuing to talk to Cherie Spitzer with Pinnacle InHome Care. Cherie, before we were talking and we briefly touched on, how do people pay for this? Because I think some people don't realize the ways that they can pay for in-home care. And and I think it's one of those important things that will help people stay out of facilities longer, stay healthier longer, just that contact from somebody helping with those things.
Absolutely.
It just really feeds into the longevity of that person, the mental health of that person too, if there's no family close to. So how can we pay for in-home care?
Sure, yeah. So a lot of confusion on if Medicare covers. And what I will briefly touch on is you have some of those Advantage plans offering home care services. That would be through your provider and whatever third party that they work with.
And that's new. That's a new development.
That's brand new.
Yes.
These Advantage plans, I think, started coming out in 2019. So if you want to go that route, great. I'm not even very educated on that yet because it's also ever-changing, so I'm trying. But just for clarification, Pinnacle InHome Care can't directly work with Medicare. Because we're licensed for non-medical services. Okay. So that's why self-pay or private pay is usually what most would assume. But we do work with state Medicaid programs that offer personal care services or personal care and attendant care, depending on the Medicaid program you qualify for. Medicaid seems really overwhelming for folks, and that's okay because it is. So again, we have registered nurses and we have experienced healthcare professionals like myself that can not only answer some of those common questions, but we can get you contacted with the right people at DHS. We can sit down and do the Medicaid application with you. So, think of us as that resource as well. VA, so our veterans with the VA system or different VA programs will cover services or provide services, and we're able to contract with them. And then long-term care insurance is a super, super smart investment if you don't already have one. Very close to like life insurance. It's not something that would kick in until you submit a claim for those services, but it's a very sound investment that'll provide an allotment per day for services like myself.
But I will say with the long-term policies, you need to read those things, and they can be a little challenging to read them. And I'm sure your office can help with that or point people in the right direction, because it can be a daily allotment or it can be a lifetime allotment. I know the wording can be interesting.
And there's sometimes where maybe for the first month up to 3 months it's private pay. There's an elimination period. There's sometimes too that resource doesn't kick in until you submit a claim, but that resource only lasts for maybe a 2-year window. So again, that just reaching out to an in-home care company to just start the consultation process and start talking to a healthcare professional is super important, because let's get that game plan. Let's look at big picture. What are you dealing with? What resources do you have to pay for these services? Because even private pay, I don't have a money tree in my backyard. I keep trying to plant one, but unless anybody else does, even your private funds may have a window of opportunity on them. So, kind of sit down and just start the conversation. It's hard to ask for help, and it's a lot of information, but just start the conversation so you can get a good game plan on what you're working with.
I love what you said about game plan, because people need to get out those documents. And get that long-term care policy out and read it. And if you don't understand it, get with somebody who can explain it to you. So, so there's no surprises that you're going along and you think, okay, this is going to pay for what I need. And then you start to read the fine print and it isn't what you thought it was.
A trusted resource is really important. And that is one thing I have loved in my 9 years of senior health care, is not only who I get to help, but who I get to work alongside with. I know some great fellow marketers, social workers, case managers. If I don't have the answer, I usually know someone who does, or they know someone. So it's like just reach out to that first person so you can start to get connected to their network and feel like you've got a trusted, educated resource in what can be a really overwhelming journey, but a journey that you want to navigate through correctly.
And I do think that we have that in our community, our senior resource community.
Oh, yes.
I mean, I know daily there's text loops going on, people in our community going, okay, I have a client and I need this for them. Who recommends this? Have you dealt with this company? There's a lot of that goes on. So there's one, when you came to our office, to Todd Watley's office, and brought some brochures, you also talked about this great resource that I really, it really stuck in my brain, Vet Assist. Yes? Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, Vet Assist is a company based out of St. Louis, Missouri, started by a married couple. He is a veteran, and their whole goal with the Vet Assist home care program is to help individuals who qualify for that aid and attendance benefit to not only obtain that benefit, but then be able to properly use it. Aid and attendance needs to be used in a certain way, usually for your medical and your healthcare needs, but it can be a really overwhelming process for an individual or their family member to not only try to contact the VA, find out about it, who do we need to talk to, where's the download of information, filling out the forms, going through the whole long drawn out process that of course will back pay from the time that you started to the time that the benefit actually starts to kick in. But it can be really overwhelming for folks. And what I love about Vet Assist is I call them like a beneficial middle guy, because I've got the client who wants services, I'm the provider ready to go, and we're now waiting on this benefit to get the party started. When Vet Assist comes in, they'll do their screening process with the veteran, knowing that they'll qualify for this benefit, yes or no. We'll get a good, clear answer. And Vet Assist will start providing those services. I'm a provider with the program, so they'll actually start paying me the hourly rate for my services, and they'll do all the legwork and the process for that aid and attendance, while the client just gets to sit there and have their services. So clients getting services, Pinnacle's in working with them, everything's great, and Vet Assist is doing all the hard work in the background, you know, recouping what they've put out
Right.
once that process is complete and the benefit kicks in. And they'll continue to generate the benefit because they continue to pay for the services. So no interruption in services. And where aid and attendance could be a 9 to 12 month process, if we involve Vet Assist, I, as the provider, can get started with the client by the first of the following month.
Wow,
So
that's great.
no more than 30 days out seems a lot better than 9 or 12 months, especially if the situation calls for it.
Right.
If you're very early in the conversation, and we've got time to put resources in place, I mean, I've consulted with families for 6 months to a year before we're ever in the home, because we know we'll need this at some point. We're lining it up now. We're
Right.
educating ourselves now. But because there's such a lack in education for senior resources or senior care in general, we usually get folks in crisis. I need to start next month, not next year. And that's where the benefit of a program like Vet Assist is great, because they can do all the hard work, but they're also facilitating the funds that'll get the services started sooner than later.
So once again, have a game plan.
Oh, yeah.
Let's just take the Broyles game plan.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll let Betsy know that
Oh, yeah.
we're taking
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
as our
Well, thankfully, their game plan for senior health used to be a fantastic educational conference with senior healthcare vendors, different speakers, different topics. Had to kind of take a break with COVID and things kind of shutting down, but hopefully not to overspeak. I've been kind of visiting with Betsy, and we would love to regenerate that, maybe bring it back in the spring.
Great.
So fingers crossed, we'll look out for information on that, and whether it's spring or fall or whatever, we'll definitely, you know, advertise to the community that that's coming up.
Excellent. Well, talking about events,
Before
we
then-
have an event that is going on at Reardon Hall, September 23rd. It is coming up. We are having the Senior Expo. I cannot tell you how excited I am that we are actually getting to have this event. We did not get to have it last year for certain reasons. We're not going to mention that. But we are having an in-person event. We have enough vendors where we can do some spacing so people feel comfortable. We'll do some sanitizing. People are welcome to wear masks. We'll do whatever precautions we need to do at the time, but we're very, very happy to do that. So September 23rd from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Our vendors will be there educating, giving out free stuff as ever to our senior population, and anybody who has a family member who may need care, come and get educated. And I know that Cherie will be there with Pinnacle InHome Care.
Yes.
At her booth. What goodies will you be bringing, Cherie?
Ooh. Well, I just placed an order.
Okay.
So I think some emery boards are
Oh,
always a
okay.
hot topic. So those nail files, and then we'll be prepared with a lot of resources as well. These senior expos are sometimes my favorite events, because, as you know, if I haven't repeated myself enough, that preparation, that education, that getting ahead on what services are available before you need them is so important. So events like this are always my favorite, because you're really talking to folks that are there to educate themselves, but they're also still independent. They drove there, they're walking around the event.
Right.
So I'm like, this is the perfect time to get to meet folks in the community and just let them know what we do, because the fun thing about resources like this is if you don't need them, you may run into somebody that does. So word of mouth is so important when it comes to education. So
Absolutely.
we will see you there with
Yes.
goodies in hand.
With bells on. So thank you so much, Cherie, for being
No,
here,
thank you. This
for
was
giving us
great.
your expertise. I hope you stay in senior health care for a very long time.
Oh, me too.
You're a great resource in our community.
thank
and
you.
thank you. So
Thank you. You as well, my friend.
thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate Cherie's time, and we will see you at the Senior Expo, and we will see you next time at Bella Vista and beyond.
Remember, you can see this program on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at various times. You may also view this program on youtube.com by going to Bella Vista Community TV. This has been a presentation of Bella Vista Community Television. Thank